Today is Thursday, September 17th, 2020, and today I'm thinking about the prince of this world, Satan. John chapter 14, verse 30. Hereafter I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh, and hath nothing in me. And yeah, I really can see this clearly now that the prince of this world is Satan. And I think they call him the prince because clearly Jesus is king, and anything that Satan does, it's because God allows him to. And so, in that way, Satan isn't a king or a lord or anything like that. Well, maybe to his minions, but just a prince. And also, I think about this all the time about how Jesus is not talking much with us now. And I could probably talk about this for a long time, but I do not believe anybody who says that they have direct conversations with God. I don't believe anybody who says that they hear God's voice. And I still get comments all the time of people telling me these incredible tales of having visions and seeing Jesus. I don't believe them either. And I hope that they don't take that personally if they're being genuine, but I just don't personally believe anybody that says stuff like that. And how do you know that you're not being shown things by demons? And anyways, I'll just keep it at that. I've never personally had God speak to me. I've never seen visions of heaven or of Jesus or anything like that. And I don't personally believe anybody that says that they do. And I know that some of my commenters have told me tales before of what they've seen and try to not take it personally. I just don't believe things that people tell me. And to not believe somebody, that's not a sin. And because who knows? Maybe they are. But all I know is what I experience, which is God doesn't talk to me directly. I've never seen visions of Jesus or anything like that. And I believe that the Bible is pretty clear that Jesus is not going to be directly interacting with us. At least that's my opinion. I don't think that this is the time for that. I think that Jesus is going to come back in all his glory and everything's going to change in that instant. I just don't believe that we're in a time right now where people are going to be actually physically seeing Jesus and actually hearing God's voice. I just don't believe anybody that says that. And I think it has to do with this. The prince of this world has cometh. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2. Wherein in times past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. And this is talking about Satan or Lucifer, the prince of the power of the air. And Luke chapter 10, verse 18. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. And the lightning bolt is one of the most common symbols that is associated with Lucifer or Satan. And it's because of this. I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. And look at that connection there. Prince of the power of the air, and fell as lightning. Lightning is power in the air. I thought this was a really interesting photo. So if you've researched old architecture, what I call pre-flood architecture, a lot of people talk about the mud flood. It's pretty clear that these buildings had electrical systems built into them, and especially with the spires and all that. A sign from God, lightning strikes the Basilica of St. Peter's dome. They love the dome because that's where we live, under the dome. Earlier this evening, during a storm that struck Rome on the same day, Pope Benedict XVI announced his resignation. I actually read a really interesting comment once. Somebody said that they were near a cathedral of some sort. I don't know exactly where this happened, but they said that the cathedral bell started ringing and they saw clouds come in and lightning actually struck the cathedral right after them ringing the bell had happened. I just thought that was a really interesting story, and it sounds like something that would happen. Maybe they can mess with, I don't know, because it's like sound vibrations. It's very believable that certain sound vibrations, these buildings have incredible resonance qualities going on. I just think of that comment every once in a while. I think it's interesting. Prince of Power of the Air, P-O-P. I think that's why it's called pop music. Prince of Power. And people like to bring up how Lucifer was in charge of music up in heaven, or at least heavily involved in some way. And I think it's really clear how the media, just society, is molded by music and how music can really affect people. And psalms are a bunch of songs, and people are supposed to be singing to God. And I would love to be able to go back and hear one of these psalms being sung in the cathedrals. It would just be a really interesting experience, because all we got now is a bunch of satanic produced stuff. Prince of Power of the Air. Makes you think about the airwaves. Makes you think about power lines, all the redundant power lines. Look at the pentagrams, the upside down pentagrams on these things, and they look like people, and they're so redundant. Power plants are a hoax. These power lines are how they get power. There is electricity, there is power in the air. And it's crazy when people will come out of the woodworks and try to tell you, there's no electricity up there. There's no electricity up there for you to get out of the air. Okay, what's a lightning bolt then? You're going to have to explain that one away. And of course they can't. There is power in the air. And Satan, Lucifer, is the prince of the power of the air. Matthew chapter 24, verse 34. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Kind of a side topic, tangentially related, but I just had a connection here. Just generation. Okay, we'll talk about the Wandering Jew in a second. Generation and generators. There is a connection between electricity and generation, generator. I don't know exactly what it is, but it came to my mind. And I do think about this idea of this generation shall not pass. And Jesus also tells us that there's people that were there to witness Jesus who will still be alive when Jesus comes back in the clouds. And yeah, there's this idea of the Wandering Jew. I don't really want to get into it. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And really quickly, to just summarize my views on this, people used to live a lot longer. The Bible says that man was supposed to live for 120 years. People hardly live 120 years nowadays, and time is moving so fast. So imagine if you took a person from back when time was moving much more slowly, and that person can live for 120 years or more, and especially with all the available satanic, doctor stuff, they could be getting organ transplants, transfusions all the time, living underground, just like in a bed, basically, just hooked up to machines and stuff. Imagine what's available to the demons at the top to keep their flesh alive. And so yeah, these are just some things I think of. I think there really are people that were alive to see Jesus that are still alive today, because I also think that they lie about when Jesus was here in the flesh on earth. I don't think it was that long ago. I don't believe the 2,000 years thing. There's just no way to take the Bible and to be able to figure out where our time is right now, because history is a lie. And yeah, how readable the KJV is. There's something about that. It just doesn't seem old to me. None of this seems that old to me. And I'll leave it at that. But anyways, there's an interesting connection I just made today about the generations and generators. This incredible technology that people use to fly through the air. Do you really think that people were able to come up with this just in a few decades? Computers have been going out of control, the increase in technology. I just don't believe that humans came up with this idea all of a sudden now. I believe that this stuff has all existed here before, and this, of course, supports that. There is no new thing under the sun. I think that we're just in the last days, and Satan knows his time is short, and They've been redoing their old playbook, and I think that all this technology existed in the past, and Satan is just bringing it back. She blinded me with science. Like that bozo. Science. The one eye idea here. She blinded me with science. He blinded me with science. No, I don't think so. Here's Granny Einstein. So today is kind of just a mishmash of ideas. We live in Satan's earth, and Satan is the prince of the power of the air. And think of all the airwaves, all the technology. It really goes all the way back to radio, when radio first came out. But I think that technology similar to radio have kind of always existed, and it's just not the kind of thing that people talk about. I mean, something to think about is if you read a novel, just go grab some random novel and start reading it. What are the chances that the novel is going to talk about toilets, indoor plumbing, for instance, talk about the radio? People just might not bring up those subjects because it's just stuff that's all around us. So how much of this tech has always been around us? I don't know. And yeah, that's it for today. God bless everyone.